Good evening, guys. I'm making a video on my mom's phone tonight because I still haven't figured out my camera situation, but I just want to talk really quickly about an experience I had today. So I struggle quite often with how vocal I want to be about veganism, particularly the ethics of it. As in, like animal liberation, not like plant-based diet stuff. And, it comes up relatively often, like pretty much every day, and that there are instances where there are things that I would like to say, and I choose whether or not to say them based on like how effective I think it's really going to be in that situation, and, kind of weighing the social ramifications of it. And, so today, I was babysitting for this family. Sorry, my cat's licking me. And I babysat for them like a couple, stop cricket. I babysat for them a couple times, and they're a really cute family, and they clearly are conscious about, their food, and it's clearly a lot of organic, like produce and whole foods in their kitchen, like little of any meat, but a lot of dairy, and they have like chickens whose eggs they eat and stuff. And so I was kind of curious, like from the beginning, whether they were vegetarian or like, I saw some vegan cookbooks in their cabinet and stuff. And anyways, so this morning I got talking to, I was wearing my animal liberation. I was wearing a patch on my sweatshirt. It was an animal liberation patch, and the dad was like, "Are you gonna free our chickens?" And I was like, "What are you talking?" I didn't realize that he had seen the patch, and I was totally confused. So anyways, long story short, he said that he had been vegan for a while when he was younger, and was now vegetarian except for pork, which is a whole, like, not one I'd heard before, so points of originality, I guess that their neighbors, like, raise pigs, or I don't know. Anyways, it really weirded me out, obviously. I get really uncomfortable around people who say that they once cared about animals and now eat them again, to begin with. And I mean, some of my close friends are people like that, so, I don't know, it makes me really uncomfortable. But anyways, so I kind of was weirded out to the point where I didn't even really engage. Like, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, like, I didn't really want to get into it at all. I was just sometimes I'm just so shocked by people's justifications or lack of, like, consistency or logic in their, ramblings, that I just get I don't see the point, basically, in, like, talking to them about it. So it was kind of like that, and I was kind of feeling, I almost felt, like, weirded out to the point where I wanted to leave, but obviously I didn't. I wanted to babysit and make money. So, anyways, I was kind of, the whole time I was babysitting, kind of feeling like, just kind of yucky about it, and, like, I wanted to talk about it, but I didn't, and, kind of thinking about how recently I've felt that way, that I just haven't been engaging as much, and feeling kind of discouraged about it, and just not, I don't know, just basically being selfish and not wanting to, like, ruffle feathers, which is, like, my downfall, definitely. So anyways, but it felt like I needed to say something or it was just going to drive me crazy, because there were so many things that he said where I had immediate responses to them, I just didn't say them. So I saw him later, and we ended up having this really long discussion about it, and it ended up being really good. Like, it was you know, kind of a rare one. Like, this doesn't happen very often at all, but he was admittant of the fact that he didn't have any real justification for doing what he was doing, and that, you know, he didn't deny that it made no sense. And so, but he still kind of went through the motions of like trying to make arguments and then admitting that those arguments didn't make sense and that he knows that it's BS, basically. And so long story short, by the end of the whole conversation, well, towards the end of the conversation, he had run out of anything else to say and was basically like, well, I guess I just don't care anymore. And I was like, well, you don't really have to. Like, I really don't see veganism as like a separate cause from anything else. Like, if you care about any cause, like, 'cause he was basically saying there's so many other problems in the world, why should I focus on that one? And I just said, well, you don't have to just focus on that one. I mean, you can be doing whatever you're doing and you can still be vegan. Like, it really doesn't matter what it is you want to do with your life or in the world. And there are amazing activists in all fields who are vegan because it's an integral part of, you know, our daily lives. We all consume food 3 times or, you know, 3+ times a day, or however many times a day you do. And you can't be neutral on the subject of animal exploitation. You either contribute to it or you don't. And either one is making a big statement. And, you know, so I basically was like, well, it doesn't really affect anything else you do. You just do it because it's just, you know, the decent thing to do. And I also said I don't, you know, people call veganism like an act of compassion or something, and I don't really see it that way anymore. I mean, maybe within our cultural context it is, like, just being a decent human being is being compassionate, but really I just see veganism as the, like, absolute lowest, like, the absolute least I can do for animals. I'm not out there, like, I'm not freeing their chickens, you know, but it's the little thing that it's the one thing I can do. And yeah, I mean, it was a good conversation, and he agreed, basically, and pretty much by the end he was like, I need to go vegan again. And yeah, so just lesson of the day, don't be afraid to speak up. He was even by then, like, you know, musing on, well, how can I have a vegan household, and how can I get my wife and my kids to eat vegan at home, and, you know, etc., etc. So we had a really, really good conversation about it. It's probably the best conversation I've had with a non-vegan in a long time. And I almost didn't have it. I almost didn't say anything because it can be really, not only, like, nerve-wracking, because I'm kind of over, like, whether people like me or not when it comes to that subject. It's more just that it gets so discouraging that it's hard to keep doing it. So, you know, I understand, like, it's so depressing sometimes. So, you know, if you can't do it, you can't do it, but I really encourage you to, because I just felt so much better after, like, you know, just saying what I needed to say. And I mean, it was interesting too. This is becoming like a really long video, but there were so many interesting topics that came up within this discussion. But something that I found really interesting was that it seems like a lot of people, at least from this guy's generation, he's probably, I don't know, late 40s, maybe early 40s, I don't know, somewhere in there. I don't want to misguess. Oh my gosh. My cat's like trying to get out the door and it's locked. So basically, in that generation, vegans were focused on factory farming. Basically, that was like the main focus, because it was kind of this new thing, you know? Or not new, but people were just becoming aware of it. And so that generation of vegans kind of died out, because once the humane, you know, wave of local agriculture and everything started, it was kind of like the in theory, the solution to factory farming, and they didn't really have any other like leg to stand on, as far as like, well, then why would you be vegan if everything that you've stood against is no longer, you know, you cannot participate in that and still eat meat. And so it makes sense that a lot of them, you know, went back to eating animal products, because they saw this hypothetical solution to it. And our generation, I feel like, at least everyone that I'm interacting with, and it seems like the majority of vegan activists today, are not focused on factory farming. In fact, the opposite is true. We are focusing on the humane myth and, you know, humane washing and direct action everywhere. That organization is, you know, targets Chipotle and companies like that that try to sell their product based on, you know, welfare. And so that's encouraging to me, that, you know, because ex-vegans, like, I mean, you know, a lot of us say they don't exist, and that, I mean, not that there was ever anybody who didn't eat animals and went back to eating animals, but that if you're vegan, you simply don't believe in animal exploitation. And I mean, I say that all the time. I do believe that if you're vegan, you know, that is the definition of it. You don't believe in animal exploitation, period. But I think that that very clear definition of veganism, even though it's always existed, I don't think it was the one that was widely spread for a long time. I think that activists really focused on factory farming and not on just the core concept of not exploiting animals. So I just found that really fascinating and really encouraging too, that that so many people who are, you know, ex-vegans really weren't vegans in the first place, because they weren't focused on just animal liberation. It was about dismantling the way that things were done, you know, or are done still, obviously. But so this new generation, you know, up-and-coming vegans we're approaching it very differently, and the education that you know, our direct action or our discussions with people are about animal liberation. It's not about factory farming. It's not about treatment. It's about this simple fact that we shouldn't be exploiting animals. And yeah, so that means that, like, a lot less people in our generation, we're fine-tuning it and we're getting it right. A lot less people in this generation of vegans, I think, are going to abandon ship, because you know, we have the abolitionist approach now, and you know, it's just a totally different ballgame. And I thought that really encouraged me today. That was like the best part of the conversation to me, was having that realization. Yeah, there were a lot of interesting things that came up, but that really made me feel a lot better. So yeah, this is way too long a video, and I just wanted to share that little anecdote of sometimes when you talk to non-vegans, it turns out good. And you know, it can be encouraging, and even when conversations don't turn out well, even though it's not fun, it's still healthier to voice what's bothering you, and ask sincere questions, like, why does it make you feel better to eat a pig that you fed yourself and raised yourself? Why does that make sense? It's like eating your dog, you know, like things like that. Like if you have sincere questions and sincere, like, you know, confusion and that, you know, I mean, obviously people are just get defensive and upset anyways many times, but no one can fault you for having those questions. You know, those are sincere, honest questions, and if someone calls you a jerk or an extremist or something for asking those kinds of questions, then, you know, I guess don't talk to them, because clearly they're lost causes and pointless people. But, yeah, speak up and don't be afraid, because it really does feel good in the end. Okay, I need to go to bed because I work in the morning, but I love you all, and I'll make another video soon, now that I have a phone to do it with. Okay, bye.